One of the beautiful things about going on vacation is you get to see other people's content for the first time, and that is what's happened here. Now, first and foremost, you need to know about the person who made this video and why we're going to check it out and why it hits so hard. The person who made this video is named Laura Fryer. Now, if you don't know who Laura Fryer is, well, you've definitely played her games and should know who she is. So let's check it out. Laura Fryer is a seasoned executive producer with a rich history in the games industry. She's held various leadership positions at Microsoft Game Studios, Epic Games, and Warner Brothers Interactive Entertainment. Laura Fryer is now making YouTube videos, and man, oh man, she has some opinions about the video game space. And it's amazing to see some of the pushback, which we're going to get to here in a little bit. So we're going to watch pretty much this entire video, but I encourage you to go check out Laura's YouTube channel. I don't know what she's doing right now, full time, but I'll tell you what, man, I would love to find a way to work with her. She seems like she has a great approach to games and was there during the rise of video games. So let's take this out. Hey, if you guys are new to the channel, make sure you guys hit the subscribe button. We'd really appreciate that. Hit the thumbs up button as well if you guys enjoy this stuff and we provide any value to what's going on. But this video is simply called Games Industry Bubble. And I'm going to tell you this right now. She nails it.
It's no secret the games industry is struggling. Millions of dollars have been lost and thousands of layoffs have occurred. Even games with mild success will not make their money back. One would think that these failures would create a moment of crisis, a moment of self-reflection in the industry. That studios would realize that instead of lecturing gamers about what they should want, they would listen and understand their fans.
Sorry to interrupt, but does that sound familiar? Sounds like something we've been preaching on this channel for a long time. And it's great. I mean, spectacular to hear somebody that has been so intertwined with the industry say the exact same thing. And I'm going to tell you this right now. Laura's not alone. There are hundreds, thousands of people in the industry who think this exact same way. They've just been zipped up and they're not allowed to say it.
You know, the people who want to be entertained, who want to pay to play their games. So how did we get here? Why is it so difficult for the feedback to get through? Why aren't studios listening? Well, the problem is that over the years, they've created a bubble. And unless they turn things around and step into the light, things are only going to get worse. Let's talk about how this happened.
All right, once again, I gave you her rundown, her resume before. This lady's been around for a long, long, long time. And she goes into it further on her channel. And I'm telling you, she's pretty damn important. She's been around. It's great.
When I first started in games, you made a game, got ready to ship, and then you talked about it at E3. You let people play, and sometimes you even had gamers at E3. It felt like a fun geek fest with friends. As games became more mainstream and made more money, things started to change. The press became more powerful, and reporters that wanted to increase their audience might do so by creating breaking news about your game. Sometimes that was really good and the game developer would score a magazine cover, they'd get more sales and a lot more attention. Sometimes it wasn't so good because a lot of game developers weren't great at selling their games. They were just great at making them. They might say something wrong about the game, or maybe a reporter would misunderstand. This could end up costing the game developer shelf space, sales, and sometimes their job.
Noise in their makeshift trailer park across the street from E3.
I think it's more honest. We don't have to put on a big show. Our big show is our technology.
Naturally.
Man, how refreshing is that to see? And you can see where she's going with this right now. You can already see where she's planting the seeds on this. The idea that all of a sudden it got a little more corporate. It wasn't about just making games. It was about advertising, promoting the games, which, you know, we've talked about this many, many times in the 90s and the 2000s, where it was small teams of passionate game makers. And all of a sudden, ooh, you said something bad. Okay, let's correct that.
What happened was the game developers and publishers started to evolve out of self-interest. They needed to protect their investment, so they would set their message and their narrative very specifically before they went to E3. The last thing they wanted was for a reporter to misunderstand and print something that would hurt the game. Now, instead of game developers working 8-hour shifts on the show floor discussing their games, companies moved to designated spokespeople and had secondary people manning the booth. Many companies staffed their floor with beautiful contractors that couldn't answer any in-depth questions.
Let's go! Booth babes. Then we had to get rid of them.
Aloha! Welcome to the Maxim Video Game Quiz.
This worked really well. Instead of having kind of a grumpy...
Wait, you're telling me that just getting a bunch of hot women together to sell your game would work? Of course it would, because gamers, as we know, are dudes, regardless of what the ESRB tries to tell you, that it's 50-50. No, right, okay.
Developer that had crunched in order to get their E3 demo done. You had beautiful, bubbly people, and they would set a great first impression of your game.
Oh my god, I know this one too.
The green guy.
Giovanni? No. The turtle? Fabio? No. Leonardo?
An added benefit was that no reporter in their right mind would quote one of these people as some kind of expert on the game, so it took away that risk. If a journalist wanted an in-depth interview or wanted specific questions about the game answered, then they were directed to a PR spokesperson. And these people were trained. They were intimately familiar with the game, and generally they didn't say anything stupid.
And fortunately, we have a product for people who aren't able to get some form of connectivity. It's called Xbox 360.
Right. So stick with 360. That's your message if you don't, if you don't like it?
If you have zero access.
The irony here of having the gaming access media poster boy right here, giving this interview here. I mean, I think this was intently done, but at the end of the day, Jeff Keighley is the poster boy for access video game journalism. It is what it is.
Access to the internet, that is an offline device.
This also really worked to increase the star power of game creators. People like stories about another person, right? It's hard to tell a story about the 150 people working on the game. It's just too much for people to keep track of. They want to hear about the star. Who is the co-creator of Halo? Who is Jason Jones? That is what they wanted to hear. These spokespeople became famous, and often the press became their friends. It's natural.
Whoa, there it is right there. The press became their friends. Goes back to the access media. Now, I'm going to tell you this right now. I think I was actually on this show, and I've talked about this many, many times before. When people come after us, they say, well, you haven't done anything. I've been on both sides of this. I've seen the access media side, and I've been on the customer side. My entire career has been built around the gamer perspective. And that's what's crazy about this, is that they can't tear me down because I've already seen everything on both sides. I've seen besides the curtain, behind the curtain. I know what Oz looks like. It looks like Jeff Keighley.
For friendships to develop over time, and it helps in interviews if people know each other.
It's great to see you again.
It's good to see you as well.
It's good to
People
see
are
this
waiting
still
for us
going.
to get back together. And now
No, they haven't.
I do always enjoy it where you
No,
make
they
up
haven't.
features and ask me if they're actually real.
Exactly. And then you go back and build them, right? No.
Sometimes yes. Sometimes yes. We get the pressure to do that.
Yes.
This created a star power on the interface too. Suddenly, you weren't just a journalist. You weren't just a buyer for GameStop. You were friends with some of the most famous and powerful people in the games industry. If you played your cards right, maybe you'd get exclusive interviews or get to break stories after drinks one night. And the escalation continued. It became normal to wine and dine the press and retail buyers. Since games were on physical media, you had to have shelf space, and even better, cross-promotion with major stores. It was big business. Companies had to manage hundreds of these people at E3. So Xbox had a handler for every major press person and retail buyer. The handler would make sure that the experience for these people was top-notch. For press, it was a PR person. In the Xbox case, they had internal PR and an army of contract PR people from a company called Edelman.
Edelman, remember that name, okay? It's an important name with this. They've handled PR for a long time for a lot of different companies. Everything she's saying is 100% true. Did you know this? Did you know how this was handled, right? The idea that every single group, every single personality, every single journalist, every single, to a lesser extent, YouTube channel or brand had somebody to handle the message for them, their message for them. Listen, I said, I've seen this, I've been a part of it. There's actually footage in this video of not me, but there's footage of this places that I've been, rooms that I've been in, that I was in during E3 at this time. Like I said, I've been on the other side. It's gross. It's disgusting. And you're always on your heels because when you're out of it, you're out of it. And I want nothing to do with it.
They were beautiful, smart, and funny people. For the retail buyers, it was easy because Microsoft already had someone internally that managed every account, and so those people would be the guides for the retail buyers.
We got 400 retail pros ready to hang out in the Xbox booth and learn why Xbox One is the best place to play games this year. Where's the best place to play games?
Totally not scripted.
If you were a VIP, you would check in for an appointment at the desk and have a first-class tour. Access to a VIP section where you could eat, drink, and mingle with Xbox and game royalty.
Been in there.
On the tour, you...
By the way, the irony of Zachary Levi, who without a doubt would not be invited into this just based off his current stance on many, many things. Yeah, there's no way he'd get an invite. Or maybe he would. He's a celebrity. Celebrity. Everybody's chasing that celebrity.
You might see a presentation by one of the creators followed by a hands-on demo, staffed appropriately so that your experience was perfect. This sometimes meant that they would even win when they weren't very good at the game.
I like that you actually went through 3 hurdles and you still finished first. So that's because I run so fast. No matter how many obstacles I hit, I can just make up for it. That's fun.
They want you feeling good. Hey, you're going to suck, but we're going to make you feel good about it.
Phenomenal. If the game was big enough, like Gears, there might be an exclusive party or event. It was also staffed with beautiful people, models, and sometimes even celebrities like Paris Hilton. I remember Paris showing up at the event. She walked over to the bar and slammed a few shots. Next thing I knew, Cliffy's girlfriend was posing for a selfie, and there I was looking like, I don't know, where's Waldo in this picture? It was fun.
What a photo. What a photo. Oh, love it.
Funny because when Cliffy's girlfriend posted this picture, she made sure to scrub me out of there. I wonder why. Then there were the press briefings before E3 even started. We'd spend weeks leading up to E3 figuring out which games to include and how to create blockbuster sound bites that would further drive our message.
I know you plan these things months and months in advance. For anybody that doesn't know, that like the planning for this starts like the beginning of the year kind of thing.
That's right.
It's crazy. So
we didn't want a random reporter setting the tone for the entire week, so we got ahead of it. We set the tone at that briefing and then gave more details later in the week. And it worked. Sometimes reporters would just report your message exactly.
Okay. You're about to have your mind blown. We said this on the show. Once again, if you're new, hit the subscribe button. Join us. Everything that we told you on Side Scrollers is accurate. She's seen it firsthand. She's literally divvied out this information firsthand. Check this out.
Like this article, which mirrored our internal XNA messaging. We knew that it was insanely ambitious to assume creating a game engine like XNA was going to somehow change the entire dynamics of the console business. But reporters liked it, and they...
Ooh, look at that. A return to form. Dragon Age, return to form, return to form, return to form.
Ran with it. And this still happens. As you saw with Dragon Age, a return to form is exactly what the designer wanted the press to say.
1,000%. How's that working out for you, by the way? Oh, that's right. It's underperforming massively. That's right.
Managing the message was critical to a studio's success and was done for survival purposes.
Once again, this is from Blue Sky. So 5 years ago, when I first rejoined the project as narrative designer after a hiatus on Anthem, I was asked my goals for the project. And one of them I want to see the phrase, a triumphant return to form for BioWare in at least one review. Of course, put it in the bullet points. And that's what the media, the access media, return to form. It's like we are predicting and telling you exactly. It's a playbook. It is a playbook, and it's been exposed.
But it sadly started to hurt gamers. You now had an industry that was in a bubble.
Yep.
As the friendships and relationships grew, only journalists in the bubble were given exclusives.
Ding, ding,
and
ding.
Sometimes their review didn't match what was going on. Again, you saw this recently with Veilguard. IGN is walking back their review.
Yep.
Did IGN actually believe Veilguard was a 9 out of 10? Or did they intentionally ignore the flaws? Did they play the game? Did they like the game, but then after they got into it more, they decided they didn't like it anymore?
Or, and just hear me out, maybe the reviewer was too emotionally tied to the game, which, as we saw, the reviewer, them, Just throwing it out there.
It's just confusing as to why it appears they're walking back that review. Is it because suddenly they're seeing that gamers don't like it and the sales are going to be low? I don't know the answers, but it's not a new story. Then there were the awards at the shows. For game developers, it was a way to keep score, to get more marketing and support for your game. It was a way to gain more shelf space at retail. Look, an expert loves my game. See, IGN says I'm a 9 out of 10. Please give me more shelf space. This created even more power for the journalists because they had a chance to create their own brand and suck up to the bigger business of Hollywood. Then YouTube took
God. Okay. I'm going to tell you this right now. She just said something. When you guys watch the Real Game Awards this year, which is our video game award show, when you watch the Real Game Awards this year, remember what she just said about chasing Hollywood. She's going to tell you that right now. Just remember that.
Took off and threatened to bring the whole thing down because suddenly you didn't have to listen to a print magazine. You could just go watch the game being played online and hear what that person had to say about it. It took a while, but the industry started to notice. I remember being at WB Games and arguing with our PR team about this. Being a Hollywood company, they loved the current setup. They had been cultivating these relationships for years. They knew and loved the model. They didn't want to embrace the new reality. On Gotham City Imposters, we wanted a presence on YouTube, so we made the videos ourselves. All of these videos were done by the actual game developers. They didn't have a budget or help, just their own creativity and time. Once the big companies caught on that YouTube and streaming was here to stay, they started the process again. The playbook was the same. Cultivate a relationship with the most popular streamers and YouTube personalities that love your game and pull them into the bubble. But then, something changed.
What do you think that was? What do you think it was? Once again, seeing this firsthand, all right? And once again, not to talk about the Real Game Awards enough, but like that's why none of our board members are allowed to accept free games at all. Zero. You can't be a part of this. It's just butt sniffing, constant butt sniffing.
You see, when you're in a bubble or an echo chamber where no real feedback gets through, it's easy to make bad choices. It's easy to believe the friendly journalists when they tell you what a genius you are and how great your game is.
On the score, yeah, we do mock reviews for every game that we launch, and this is like double digits lower than we thought we would be.
You stop seeing what the gamers are actually playing. You stop understanding what they want. You stop listening because all you hear is how awesome you are. Let's look at Dragon Age. It took over 6 years to make that game. And that is very expensive even before you start talking about the marketing. This means you're going to have to sell a lot of copies, and that means you're going to have to appeal to as many people as possible.
While alienating everybody. Because, hey, why not?
Look, shipping a game is really hard, and I give these developers a lot of credit for getting it out the door. There's no question that some people like the game, and that's great. But it's looking like it won't be enough, and I have concerns this will lead to more layoffs. Also, as a gamer, I have no problem with game developers taking risks with their content. Who doesn't love innovation? But that doesn't mean I'll buy your game. There are many games I like and many that I don't. This is true of movies too. And that's the beauty and the challenge of working in the games industry. Sometimes you will make something that you think is good and people don't love it. I was proud of every single game I shipped, but not all of them had commercial success, and it was frustrating. But I didn't blame the gamers for that. Instead, I tried to look back. I tried to self-reflect. What did we do well on this game? What could we have done better?
Think about what she just said. The idea of she took accountability. She looked at what they did wrong. If they had a failure, they didn't look at you and say, well, you didn't buy it because you're a bigot. That's what you're seeing from this bubble industry, this bubble media right now. And that's what I love doing, what I love about what we're doing, is that we are the wake-up call. And that's exciting. Oh my gosh, it's awesome. And it's so validating to hear somebody like Laura say this. It's amazing.
Why didn't this work out? And as the leader of a studio or a game, I always looked at myself first.
War in the North was also a commercial failure, a fact that many critics attributed to the timing of its release, being released only 10 days before the juggernaut of fantasy gaming, Skyrim.
Gaming is entertainment. People aren't forced to buy your message or your game. Holding back user reviews for a few days only buys you a few days. Eventually, the truth comes out. Eventually, people notice that you aren't delivering fun games, and they stop giving you money.
Everybody knows it's over! Everybody except you!
When people ask me why AAA games are in trouble, this is it. Because they're not reflecting on what they could do better. Instead, they're attacking the people that they want to sell their games to. It is not a winning strategy. It reminds me of Plato's allegory of the cave. It's where people only see what is on the wall in front of them. They don't see that there is a fire behind them and puppets that are creating the images that they see on the wall. What they're seeing isn't real. And if only they would turn around and walk into the light, they would know the truth. They would be able to change. It's hard, but fortunately, they made the cave. They made the fake reality. They can turn around at any time. And I, for one, hope they do, because I really want more great games.
All right, I need you guys head over to Laura's channel. I'll put a link to it down below. She is obviously super smart, and I want to find a way to work with this lady. I've said many times before, when we get into video game development at Side Scrollers, which we will do 100% down the line, this is a lady that I would love to work with, or somebody like Laura. But what's interesting about this is the response to this video, in particular from Reddit/socialist gaming. Of course, they're just going to totally try to devalue it over there. Laura Fryer, former executive producer for Microsoft, joins in on the grift, blaming game devs for anti-gamer rhetoric while focusing on how beautiful people in marketing were in the past. Hey, do you think it's like one of those? Do you think these people will ever like look at this and be like, "Oh, we're the problem. We're the problem, right? There's not enough of us." Anyways, I find that absolutely fascinating. What an absolutely fascinating take from somebody who has literally been there through the whole thing. They like pretty much the entire growth of the video game industry in the mainstream. So Laura Fryer, if anybody knows her, would love to get introduced so we can talk business, because that's somebody that I would love to work at the end, because she gets it. She's seen it, she's done it, experienced it. Do me a favor, hit the subscribe button, go watch another video here. Appreciate you guys popping in. We'll see you guys for more. Join us Monday through Friday for our live show. We'd appreciate that.